Hello. It's Terry again from the pew again. I got this Christian worldview. I do this channel so I can help all of us understand various points. Everything I look at, I try to look at it from a Christian worldview. Uh, Whether you agree with it or not is not the issue. It's just how I look at it as a Christian. But I want to play this video because the title right here, this little segment, I call it Another Jedi Mind Trick. I want you to hear what this gentleman's saying right now, I want your opinion on what he's saying. Okay, so let me pull up this video and let me play what he's saying.
How do you go to church and read your Bible and say your prayers and then cheer as the world's richest man cuts aid to the world's poorest populations, which according to new calculations have already led to the deaths of 300,000 people and counting? And even if that number is half or a quarter, how do you stand by and say nothing and do nothing? Decades of humanitarian assistance and groundwork wiped out in a single moment in time, and Fox News says it was all fraud and you just believe them without doing any independent research for yourself, and meanwhile kids are dying. How can you claim to represent Jesus when your actions are so far from his heart?
So y'all heard that, right? And so interesting. He brings up interesting subject matter. A lot of Christians, especially preachers, wrestle with this. But let's talk about that real quick. And I'm not going to try to take up all your time. First thing, he talked about how can you be a Christian and not support that? Well, and support Trump. Well, here's the thing. What about abortion? And this is controversial. So I know that right there before I said, what about abortion? Should Christians support abortion? Right? Should they? I know abortion's not no longer the law of land, but think about it. Should we? Should Christians support criminals being in black neighborhoods, killing men, women, and children, and do nothing and be perfectly happy about it? Should we? Should we be happy about drugs coming across our borders? Fentanyl in particular, which by the way comes from China. China's the main sponsor of that. That's a whole nother subject maybe I'll get to one day. And then people are dying from drug overdose. Should we be happy about that? Right? The other thing is he's saying we should never get our moral compass from the president. Should we got a moral compass from Bill Clinton when he was president? Should we got a moral compass from Barack Obama when he was president? By the way, that's another issue. Think about it. What about transgenderism? Should we be happy about that? Right? Should Christians support transgenderism, even though in the beginning God created man and woman? Should we be happy about that? Should we just support somebody? Technically, going by what he's saying, you should never vote, because you never should get your moral compass from the president of the United States. And if you go through history and even in the Bible, you'll find out that a lot of characters in the Bible were flawed. Humans are flawed. Donald Trump is flawed. Barack Obama's flawed. If you're human, you walk on this planet, you're flawed. Me as a Christian, I'm flawed. The difference is I try to go to Jesus and ask Jesus to help me with my insecurities and my weaknesses. That's the only difference. So I'm not perfect. Do I try to live up to a certain standard? Yeah, I do. But at the same time, I'm flawed. So you should never get your moral compass from the president of the United States. I don't care who it is, whether Democrat or Republican. Okay. But he brings up some points. A lot of preachers wrestle with that. On one hand, preachers they'll vote Democrat. Then they get on the pulpit, and do they ever talk about abortion? Especially black preachers. How many of y'all know within the black community, right? When Roe versus Wade was legal, 35% of abortions, 30 to 35% abortions, right, were in the African American community. We only make up 13% of the population, but 30 to 35% of them were in the African American community. Did the black preachers talk about that? So these are things that we get kind of brainwashed, and it might be another Jedi mind trick. Okay, I get what he's saying. Okay, the other thing, let me pull up something else here that I want y'all to see. And so what I'm going to do is let me go and find another thing to share with you, okay? Just because he brought up the whole thing about us, America's not supporting people and this, that, and other thing. And let me see if I can find it. That's the co-sponsor. Let me go to window. Let me go to window. I don't see it here. But let me pull this one up real quickly. And I just want to show you something. And by the way, you could do your research. I thought I had pulled it up, but I'm going to pull this one up real quick. I want you to see this one real quick. And this deals with the food stamps, SNAP. Okay. And what happened is, this is Bill S-3024. It was sponsored by Josh Hawley and the Republican Party. Yeah, the Republican Party sponsored this bill. This was a Keep SNAP Funded Act of 2025. They wanted to keep food stamps continually funded. Now, here's my little how I feel about food stamps. I believe if you need a hand up, get food stamps. I have no problems with hand ups. Handouts is where I have a problem. You know, sometimes you need a hand up. You lose your job, your income flow is not the same. Go get those food stamps. Go get those food stamps until you're able to get that new job. Okay, get the food stamps. You're disabled. Get the food stamps. You're a college student, just getting in college. Get the food stamps. Right. You're elderly. Get the food stamps. But if you can work. And there's some blessings and curses what's going on, what's going to happen tomorrow if they don't sign this bill, right? They're going to have people that are not getting food stamps, right? Not getting snaps. And I'm more concerned about the elderly and the disabled. That's what I'm concerned about, right? And people who are currently not working, college students, certain people I'm worried about. But if you can work, you need to go work. This is a blessing and a curse. It's a curse because there's people who actually need it who can't help themselves. They might not get their food stamps. Then there's people who can work but won't work and they sit home and get food stamps. Okay, so those people need to go get a job. Okay, and forget everything they're telling you. The current unemployment rate in the United States is less than 5%. I think it's like 4.3%, somewhere around there. There's plenty of jobs. Maybe not the job you want at this particular time, but there's plenty of jobs. Okay. But I call this might be a Jedi Mind Trick. And reason why I says this is because on October 22nd is when they sponsored the bill. And what happened was, if you look here, here's all. Now, if you look at the bill right here, there's 14 Republicans, 13 Democrats. Yeah. Now, you might say, why don't they fund it? Well, they need 60. It's 14 Republicans, 13 Democrats, two independents. Well, because they need 60 votes. Forget all that stuff when they say, Republicans control the Senate and the Congress and everything. They still need 60 votes. The nuclear option is when they have like what's called a majority and they vote. They don't vote on a majority. It's 60, right? 60. Right? Neither party want to go to the nuclear option. They want at least 60. That way they have 60 people, right? 60 people in Senate, right? That agree on the bill. They don't have 60 Republicans, okay? All right? So they need some Democrats to vote for the bill. So what did the Democrats do? Did they come along? Yeah. One of the sponsors was a Democrat. I think it was 7 Republicans and 1 Democrat sponsor initially. But then come day before yesterday, we have 12 Democrats on the 29th come along, and here they are: Warnock, King, Heinrich, Warren, Schumer. Schumer is part of the reason why it shut down in the first place. Murray, Cortez, Kim. These are all Democrats, y'all. Booker, right? Look at them. Look at all these Democrats. Hassan, Gallego, Lugan, right? Klobuchar, Sanders. All of them signed the day before yesterday. Now, why did they wait till the day before yesterday? Because isn't it obvious? They want to at least say, if something happened, well, I was a co-sponsor of the bill. That's what they want to say when they should have did it earlier. They waited till the day before yesterday to sign as a co-sponsor. Even though they know they need 60 votes. See, this is the game they play with the American people. They need 60 votes. They already know they don't have 60 votes. Republicans are behind it. They're the sponsor of it. They wouldn't have sponsored if they didn't have the votes. They have the votes in the Republican Party. It's the Democrats why people are not getting food stamps. But what happened is they're gonna blame Donald Trump. By the way, that guy who was talking about, we're not doing this. We're in $30 trillion in debt, 38 trillion as a nation. We cannot continue living like that. And by the way, we're still the number one contributing nation on the planet to other nations. We're still number one. All they did was cut back all the foolishness. By the way, another reason why the Democrats want to shut down the governments because they're talking, well, it's about healthcare. Now, here's the thing. Healthcare has been a problem. The problem with healthcare is the same problem that we have with car insurance. Nobody wants to go out and pay for it. Don't get me wrong. We pay for our car insurance. We go ahead and get the new car. We get car insurance. Then after we got the car for a little while and we're making our payments, we drop our payments, right? And then you get in an accident. The car insurance is no good because you ain't gotten it. That's what we do with car insurance. It's the same thing with healthcare. We got to pay for it, but we don't want to pay for it. We want it for free. Well, the problem with wanting it for free, if the government give it to us for free, government don't have no money. They have to increase taxes. Nobody want to be taxed. So that's why healthcare is a problem. Okay. Well, they had Obamacare. Obamacare penalized certain people. Whether you know that, I got penalized on Obamacare because I had a dependent that was staying with me, and this dependent was kind of incapacitated. So I filed them on my tax return. Come back, they said, "Hey, you have health care for this dependent," which I didn't. I had health care for myself and my spouse. They said no. They penalized me. I wound up getting like a $1,500, $2,000 penalty. That was Obamacare. See, they don't tell you all that. Okay. But what I'm saying is you have to pay for it. But here's the big killer. This is the big killer with the healthcare. The reason they want to give healthcare and come up with this healthcare and add this $1.5 trillion to the budget was so they can send money off to other nations. That's part of it. And they want to pay for illegals. The other thing on the illegals, they're basically cutting line, y'all. There's people who come into this nation who go through the right process. They put in the paperwork. They come in. They get naturalized. That is the process you go. Every nation is like that. I got a relative in Canada I got to see. You think I could just drive up in Canada and go see this relative? No, I got to do some paperwork. Y'all follow me? That's just how it works. But we're mad at Donald Trump. And the preachers are mad at Donald Trump. Preachers ain't talking about abortion. They ain't talking about transgenderism. They're talking about Donald Trump. We should never look for our moral compass from the president of the United States. We should be looking to Jesus Christ. And notice I said Jesus Christ because there's some preachers out there. Don't get me wrong. Preachers supposed to be the example. They're the ones standing on the watchtower, screaming out to the people. It's a watchman on the wall, letting us know, here come danger, danger, danger. That's an Old Testament doctrine. That's what they do. They don't do that no more. Most of these preachers nowadays, here I go. Not all of them. Let me back up. A minority of these preachers nowadays all about the money. Me personally, if I go to the church and the preacher's always asking for money, here's the thing, and I'm about to get into this. This is another Jedi mind trick, y'all. Another Jedi mind trick. That's all it is. They signed this thing and on the 29th. Now they want to let you know, we co-sponsored the bill. Why didn't you co-sponsor it on the 22nd? Because they didn't want to. Let me get complete openness to this. There is $5 billion in emergency fund there, right? Now, admittedly, the Republicans don't want to touch that emergency fund. Here's the reason. SNAP cost over $100 billion a year. Even if they touch that 5 billion and exhaust it, it's still not going to cover SNAP for a month. Y'all realize that? Because for a month, you need like $8.1 billion to continue SNAP for a whole month. They don't have enough money. They only got 5 billion in emergency. Y'all follow me? So that's what's going on with that in case that comes up. But we need to do, like he said, I agree with him. You need to do more research. But obviously he didn't do thorough research. He's probably just a person that hates Donald Trump. You know, that's how it's, just let's admit it. Some of us just hate Donald Trump. And if you're a Christian and you hate Donald Trump, right, you got a problem because you can't love. There's a, I'm not going to pull up the text, but I'm going to bring it up here and I'm going to quote it to you. There's a part in the New Testament where they asked Jesus, what is the greatest commandment? Y'all heard, most of y'all probably heard this before. And he says, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, all thy mind, and all thy strength. Then he said this is the trick part. This and the second is like the first. Love thy neighbor as you love thyself. Then he said, on this hangs all the scriptures and the prophets. Do you get what's going on there? Loving God and loving your neighbor is based on the principles of the Bible, and Christian living in your life is based on that. Everything's supported by those premises. If you're not into that, then everything else you do is a failure, especially if you say you're a Christian. I'm done. I don't want to take, sorry, it's been close to 17 minutes. I didn't want to take too much time, but this is another Jedi mind trick, y'all. Another Jedi mind trick. They playing on y'all. It's Trump's fault. It's Trump's fault that, you know, he's going in the black neighborhoods and everything, disrupting the black neighborhoods and all that. It's Trump's fault. Well, let me ask you, who put the illegals in the black neighborhoods? Huh? Why are the illegals why aren't they in the white neighborhoods? Why did they put them in the black neighborhoods? So he has to go in the black neighborhoods to get them, right? Let me ask you that. Who put them in there, right? He's not coming for you. He's going in there for them, okay? Trying to get them out of your neighborhood. Nobody's concerned about the mothers and fathers and grandmothers and grandfathers who are losing grandchildren and children to violence. Nobody cares about that. Why? Because who cares what goes on in the inner city? Who cares? But we're going to complain about Trump going in there. But he shouldn't go in there. But who cares? What about the mamas and daddies crying over their children? Do anybody really care about people? Is your politics greater than people? Is your politics greater than the love of people? I love y'all. Please share this video, subscribe to this video, and like this video. The more likes and shares I get, the better the content is going to get. Thank you very much, and I love you.